Yo guys, Sniper Ant here, back with another video, and today I got a top 5 video of the top 5 vehicles that nobody really uses anymore. And these vehicles often got replaced by other vehicles that have just better abilities and are just better in practically every aspect. So without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. Alright, with number 5 here we have the Zentorno. And if you're looking at the Zentorno here and you're like, what the hell is this? Who used this? So first of all, let me give you a little thing about it. Zentorno is a super vehicle that's been in the game since I believe day 1 and is still purchasable today on Legendary Motorsport for about $725,000. So nowadays it's kind of cheap, but since it was in the day 1, a car in day 1, it was pretty expensive because there wasn't really a lot of ways to make money back then, just contact missions and that stuff. But it was a griefer vehicle because I don't have it, but you can clearly see from the back, there is no windows at the back. So people would reverse drive with sticky bombs and they would keep throwing it at other players and killing them. Spawn killing them, mass killing them with this vehicle. Nowadays, people don't use it anymore because there's just so many better and obviously, well, it's not just for the speed, but the griefing, there's better vehicles and there's so many vehicles that could just absolutely destroy this thing. It only takes one missile to blow it up. It's not like it's an armored supercar. It's just an ordinary supercar. And if you're looking at the supercar basis, there are way better supercars, probably maybe even cheaper. But obviously, if you're looking for a bigger price, you're probably going to get a better vehicle than the Zentorno. It's not a bad vehicle. It's just not a vehicle that is used as often anymore. And if you didn't really play in 2013, obviously you wouldn't probably know this is 2013, 2014 years. You probably haven't seen this on the streets of Los Santos as of late. Alright, coming in at number 4, we have the Stromberg. And for the Stromberg, you can pay for it off Warstock for $2.5 million, but you can get a trade price for about $1.8 million, which is not a bad deal. But the reason it's not used anymore, is maybe you don't see it anymore, is because there's literally almost an identical vehicle to it, but it's just so much better in every aspect. And that vehicle would be the Torador. And yes, the Torador is more expensive, but it's better. It's got a boost, something Stromberg doesn't have. You can use the boost underwater and on land. And speaking of underwater, the Torador is better underwater than the Stromberg. It's significantly faster than the Stromberg. It's kind of slow underwater, the Stromberg is, but it's still a pretty good vehicle. The armor, I think, is practically about the same. I actually think the Torador might be able to take a little bit more than the Stromberg can, but the missiles might also be a little bit better on the Torador than it is on the Stromberg. But the Stromberg isn't a bad vehicle, but ever since the addition with the Torador, it's just a completely obsolete version of like this underwater type of amphibious vehicle, like this submarine type car. So if you have to pick, definitely go with the Torador. It will be more expensive, but it's better for your buck. Alright, number 3 is the Rhino-Tank. And like the Zentorno, it kind of was a very popular and a very good vehicle at some point. Obviously for griefing, it's pretty obvious why. Like, look at it, it's a tank. No player really stood a chance when like another player was driving this, because there's practically no way of shooting them out except for the explosions that you may have to cause by stickies or by anything else that you could have gotten. But like no other vehicle could basically stop the Rhino-Tank. But with the Doomsday Heist update, we got the Conjali tank, which just is way superior than this in every way imaginable. The armor is better, the speed's better, the weapons are better. Nothing stops the Conjali tank when it comes to the Rhino-Tank. If these guys squared off, like the Rhino-Tank and a Conjali tank squared off, the Conjali tank would win pretty easily. Like the weapons just absolutely clear the Rhino-Tank. And yes, the Conjali tank is still more expensive, but it's definitely worth it if you're getting a tank. I'm not saying the Conjali is necessary, but it's a really good vehicle because, again, you can't really get shot out of it. Now, the Rhino-Tank can be purchased off of Warstock for $1.5 million. It is a Pegasus vehicle, so I don't really know if you can store it in any garages, but you have to call him Pegasus. Sorry there. You will have to call him Pegasus for the first use if you buy it, but I don't really recommend it anymore. It was like more of a early beginner type of tank. Now, not really anymore because the Conjali is just better. Now, for these last two, I actually have them, so I don't really have to put a screenshot up on the screen. But the number 2 is the Deluxo, and you might not actually realize it, but there was a time where Deluxos, instead of Oppressor Mark IIs, were taking over the streets of Los Santos. rightfully so, because it's hell of an overpowered vehicle. It was new kind of for its time. I believe it was the Doomsday Heist that introduced it. A lot of futuristic vehicles came from here, and I think that's where the start of these futuristic vehicles started coming from. The Doomsday Heist, because it was kind of an absurd kind of DLC. It's okay. But obviously we know that what the Deluxo comes from. You know, Marty McFly. Obviously, we actually haven't seen the movies in a while from Back to the Future. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm still not the best here, but I'm trying to give out some content. But the Deluxo is a pretty good vehicle. You know, since the price increases, like the price changes not too long ago, this vehicle's price did go up to reduce griefing. It's a really good vehicle. I'm actually going to show in Headhunter how really good it is. The flying, or I guess how they call it, hovering. The hovering ability is extremely useful. The missiles are Ruiner missiles, the best missiles in the game. So that's just another plus. It is expensive. I do recommend you buy it, but not for griefing, because it is some vehicle if it's used for griefing. I believe the armor isn't that great on it. It's not the fastest when it's hovering as well. You know, there is faster. It's not that bad of a vehicle. It's a war stock vehicle that you could pay for about, I think it's around like $5 million, maybe something like that. Correct me. And there is a trade price on it. Sorry, the trade prices, the new price changes kind of just confused me with this. But I think it's still worth it. Definitely get it if you don't have it already. It's a pretty old vehicle, so a lot of players probably do have it. It's definitely pretty fun. I do wish it also had a little bit more seats than just 2, but whatever. And for number 1 on the list, it's the Oppressor. And the original Oppressor motorcycle, it's stored in my MC Clubhouse. So I actually also don't even have the missiles for it. That's just how much I honestly don't use it anymore. It used to be a pretty good vehicle, but for the last 2, the Deluxo and the Oppressor, the Mark II is kind of the reason that people don't use them anymore. They were once used. This also came out with the Doomsday Heist. They were once used, but ever since that flying motorcycle, the Oppressor Mark II came out, these 2 are kind of just out of the equation. This is another vehicle that you could buy off of War Stock, and it's also another one of these vehicles that have had a price change, except this time it got a little bit cheaper because obviously Rockstar noticed that nobody was really using the Oppressor that much anymore, so that's why they got a price decrease. Now, if you're wondering why I don't have the missiles for this, it's because you have to do it through research, and I don't have all the research items unlocked, and the Oppressor missiles just so happen to be one of them. The Oppressor missiles aren't that amazing. They're okay. They can hit targets. They're not the best, though. The miniguns kind of suck on them. That's why the missiles are obviously ultimately better. People often use like the Oppressor's glide. It was new at the time. They had like this gliding feature, which was pretty cool, and they glide up, use the boost, which is way better than the Oppressor Mark II's, by the way. The boost on this thing is way better, but you just glide up into the sky, do a little bit of twirls, and then bomb whoever the hell you're trying to bomb. Usually happens a lot in dogfighting, or not really dogfighting, but also ground combat too. Alright, so that's going to be the end of the video, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this top 5. I really did too. I'm sorry if it wasn't up to par, if you really were hoping. I'm just still not feeling the best. I'm just trying to put out whatever I can for you guys, as you know, I'm going into the new week. But if you haven't already, thanks for you guys actually making my last video doing so well. But if you haven't already, like, subscribe. Have a great day, guys. Peace.